Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Forschler-Horn, President of JMH Consulting. Welcome to 4 huge developments in online marketing for higher education. We're excited to have such a great group here today. The reason why we chose this topic in particular is there's been so much fast and furious so many new developments in online marketing and changes to platforms that we've historically used in online marketing that we thought it was time to kind of step back and talk about the new developments, talk about what we're seeing, and also share with you some of the best practices that we've been seeing as we're kind of keeping up with these changes. Today we're having John Horn, CEO and Senior Consulting over our marketing present, as well as Jana Wickstrom-Weary, who is our Marketing Manager at JMH Consulting. Between the two of them, they have managed online marketing campaigns for dozens of higher education clients, including Brown, Stanford, University of Oklahoma, University of Richmond, just to name a few. And they've also managed millions of dollars worth of paid online marketing. And this includes on Google, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So we're excited to dive into this. We will be stopping at the end and we'll have time for questions. You'll notice on your navigation screen that you can type message here. If you have a question, go ahead and you can enter, actually there's a questions mark that you can enter the questions in there. I just don't want you to be surprised if we don't stop in the middle of the webinar, but I'll hold on to those questions until the end and we'll go over them at that point. If we don't get a chance to address your question during the webinar, we will follow up individually with people. Let me think, is there anything else I need to tell you? I think the only other thing that I want you to know is that we will be sending a recording of this webinar to everyone who registered. And in that email that you'll be getting, there will also be an assessment opportunity that if you would like JMH to complete a free assessment for you, we're happy to do that, and that email will share a little bit more information about it. So John, I'll let you say welcome to everyone, followed by Jana, and then we'll begin. Go ahead, John.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm excited to share some of these huge developments with you. There's a lot of change going on right now in the online marketing arena, and we'll share 4 specific ones, and I'll let Jana go into more detail on that, and then maybe tease you with a few more at the end. So, Jana.
Yes, we're excited to be here today, and I'll just dive right into our agenda for the day so you know what to expect. We will be covering, as John said, 4 huge developments. Many of you probably noticed it started with 3, and then we had a little update that occurred in the last week or so, and thought that it was important to share this with you and discuss the possible impact of that change, which is quite recent. So we'll be covering Gmail sponsored promotions, Instagram advertising, Facebook detailed targeting, which has a much more exciting name that we prefer to call it, and then a Google search update, which is our sort of mystery item, number 4, which we'll get into more detail about later on in the webinar. And then John will wrap up with an assortment of updates that were not quite as huge, but definitely noteworthy, and wanted to make sure that those things were on your radar. So once we cover everything, we'll have a few minutes for Q&A and wrap up, and then we'll let you guys move on to the rest of your Wednesday. So without much ado, our first update comes to us from Google, Gmail sponsored promotions. This is a product that was actually in beta for quite some time, a couple years actually, and it changed quite a bit during its time in beta. But we are excited that it has been released to the public as of this last year. And I'm going to give you some examples, show you what it looks like, and tell you why it's exciting. So if you have a personal Gmail account, and you've selected the default setup of your inbox, you'll see these three tabs. So we have primary, social, and promotions. It's here in this promotions tab where you'll see the email that Google has sorted as promotional, so all of your marketing emails, as well as your Gmail sponsored promotion ads, which we're discussing today. So you can see here in the red box that the ads are indicated as such, and there's a little bit of branding there, but they still look quite similar to the other messages in this area. What this tool allows for advertisers to do is interesting. They offer a range of options, and there's a slightly different approach. So this is something you would set up in your Google Display network. But we've got some different options here, so we're going to get into that in a second. And just so you know, once a user clicks on an ad, so this was if let's say they click on one of these options here, that's the point at which the advertiser is charged. Once that click happens, a message will open, the appearance of which will depend on what option you've chosen, and we'll look at that actually, we'll look at that right now. So we've got 5 options now. There were 4 up until about a week ago, and they added a 5th option. So we have a Gmail image template, a Gmail single promotion template, a Gmail multi-product template, a catalog template, and a custom HTML upload. So you can see there's a range of choices here. The easiest ad to set up in our experience, really, especially if this is your first foray into GSPs, would be the Gmail single promotion template. It allows you to upload a simple image and some ad text, and we'll be taking a closer look at that in just a moment. But if you have a great design staff who can build out large banner ad style images, or even better, an image that appears just like an email would, which really takes into account the popular and quite effective native advertising approach, the Gmail image template might be a good choice for you. Another thing to highlight here is the custom HTML upload. This would require the most work of all of the options, but really allows you quite a bit of customizable space here. You are able to embed an inquiry form, if you would like, directly into the ad, giving users the opportunity to reach out to you immediately without leaving their inbox, which is pretty huge. Again, requires a little bit of production work and investment of time and energy, but definitely something to consider. So since this tool is probably new to many of you, let's take a deeper dive in the ad format that would be easiest to get started with, so single promotions. This is what we're looking at, the collapsed ad view, when somebody first enters that promotions tab. Down below, you can see what an ad looks like once it's opened. So, as you can see, there's a significant amount of space allowed here for content. In fact, the written content to the right of the image can contain up to 1,024 characters, so that's far more than we've included here, but lots of opportunity to get your messaging included there. The image on the left must be 300 pixels wide, but can be anywhere from 200 to 500 pixels in height, so that allows you to match up that image height with the height of your content on the right. Another aspect that's important for you to understand is who is going to see these ads. You have the option of targeting based on, let's go back to what we're looking at, targeting based on the domains that are sending people email and the keywords that people are using in their emails. We'll talk about the impact of that in just a second, but those are our primary ways of really targeting our end audience. Targeting then results or once people see the ad, we then see our metrics appear here. So our report is very similar to what you would see in Google AdWords with Google Display Network or Google Paid Search Ads, but we've got some differences. So there's a couple noteworthy differences here. One, clicks are measured when someone clicks to open your ad in their inbox. So that's different than what we see for other types of ads where clicks are measured when someone clicks through to your website. So in GSPs, Gmail Sponsored Promotions, the parallel metric for standard clicks is called Gmail clicks to website. So that's the point at which someone then decides to click on your call to action and arrive on your website. So here we're looking at an additional metric kind of when we're looking at these standard clicks. There's also a couple new metrics available. So GSPs offer, and you'll see these on the right here, to the right of cost. We have Gmail clicks to website, which is the metric that I just talked about, where we really are then seeing someone arrive on your website or landing page. We also have Gmail saves and Gmail forwards. We handle these similarly to how we handle social media actions, such as liking your Facebook page or sharing a post, or for instance for Twitter, retweeting your content or following your handle. So there's some nice kind of social value that is important not to ignore when we're looking at some of the new metrics that are available here with GSPs. So why is this huge, you say? Number one, this is kind of a saving grace for Google Display. We have seen costs increase for Google Display. We've seen the quality of placements decline steadily and pretty significantly over the last 2 years in our experience. So this really contributes to some more positive metrics here. What we're seeing is strong performance and effective targeting. While a clicks to website may be a bit more costly than what we're seeing for standard clicks on other display ads, what we're seeing, which is more significant, is that the cost per conversion is very reasonable in many cases. Also that targeting, so the ability to target people who are receiving emails from your competitors is a really a great tool. Also, this really expands your, basically acts as an extension to the email marketing efforts that you're doing. You're reaching new prospects, and you have the ability to customize your content so that it appears like an email message. So really, in essence, you're reaching new people who you wouldn't be able to reach with a marketing platform, basically, email, that is quite successfl. So the more you're able to make those ads in your GSPs look more like an email, the more effective that this platform can be as an extension of your email marketing efforts. And I think that really that gets it in a nutshell. So I'm going to hand you guys off to John to cover some exciting updates in Instagram.
Thanks, Jonna. Thanks for making me follow that. It was great. So Instagram, another huge development here. So when Facebook bought Instagram a couple years ago, I think they at the time didn't quite know what they were going to do with it. Of course, they didn't tell me, but that's my assumption. They just knew that it was a huge network, that it was a social network similar to Facebook, and that they wanted to try to leverage that, and more particularly, I assume, to monetize that. Well, they made a really smart decision at the time, which was, rather than building a separate ads platform for Instagram, which would essentially then become a competitor to their Facebook ads platform, they decided to integrate the Instagram advertising into their existing Facebook ads manager. And I have to tell you, brilliant decision. So they rolled out these Instagram ads. They were in beta for a while, and they rolled out last fall, sometime around October or so. So they've been live for less than 6 months. And let me show you what these look like. So we'll go to the next page. Here are just a couple of examples of some Instagram ads that we are running for a college in Boston, Wheelock College. And this is a master's in education that focuses on STEM topics for elementary school teachers. And so, of course, Instagram is a great platform for that. You think you're trying to reach teachers, you're trying to reach people who are generally younger in their career, maybe early 20s through the late 30s, early 40s is kind of typical time for a master's degree. And you can see these ads they're quite attractive. You can integrate graphics into them. You get a little snippet of text. But here's what's wonderful about this. All of these ads are built and managed through the Facebook ads platform, which if you use Facebook, you know, has improved dramatically over the past couple of years. It's actually a very nice tool, especially when you couple it with the Power Editor, which gives you the ability to make many changes very, very quickly. So you can now add Instagram as a placement to your existing Facebook ads campaign. So again, you can build one ad campaign and target it toward the Facebook news feed, target it for the mobile news feed, for the sidebar, and Instagram in the same one, or you have the option of building separate specific campaigns for Instagram. And the difference between the two really just has to do with the flexibility and design, because of course Instagram has more of a portrait orientation, as you see here. So these ads were built natively for Instagram, whereas if you used a Facebook campaign, Facebook ads are landscape, and so the image is smaller, and it just doesn't quite have the same look. But the flexibility of simply being able to add Facebook, and I'll show you here a screenshot of that, of just being able to add Instagram on to an existing Facebook campaign makes it so easy. And this is one of the things I think Facebook as a company has done that's been brilliant, is you can simply check a box to reach this entire other audience, and there are about 300 million users of Instagram. So let me back up just a step though and say, in addition to having the option of using kind of Facebook native ads or Instagram ads, it also allows you, well, photo ads would be the default here on the left, but you can also use video ads on Instagram. These have to be fairly short. 30-second ads. I think they may have actually extended that to 60 seconds a couple weeks ago, but Instagram video ads, and you can also do what are called carousel ads. I'll talk a little more about those at the end. That's one of our teaser extra new developments. But carousel ads allow you to show a series of images and text clips that go along with them that people can actually scroll through. So with that, I mentioned the different formats here with Instagram. Just notice, I wanted to point out on the right-hand side of this that you can actually see an approximate number of people that you are going to reach on Facebook and the number that you may be reaching on Instagram. So they actually separate those out for you if you're building a campaign that's targeting both audiences, which is nice just to give you a sense of how many people you're going to be reaching on each of those two platforms. And of course, in terms of targeting, because you're using the Facebook platform, you have this incredible depth of targeting characteristics that you can tap into. So in this case, for the ads that I showed you shortly before, for the master's degree in education, we can target people who have a college, who have a bachelor's degree, or some graduate school, but not a master's degree. We can target people by their job titles. We can actually target first grade teachers, second grade teachers, third grade teachers, and we can target by age range. We can combine all of those together, and there are many, many other targeting capabilities of Facebook, and since Instagram is sort of piggybacking on top of this, you get access to pretty much all of these when you're building campaigns for Instagram. And then lastly, I'll mention the reporting screen. So this is actually the Facebook Ads Manager, a little screenshot from that showing some of those same ads. But Facebook has put a significant amount of effort into improving their ads manager, this interface, in particular their reporting over the past year. And so you get access to all of that and the benefits of all of those improvements that Facebook has been making right from the start with Instagram ads. So we can see not only how many people have clicked on our ads, we can see how many conversions, if we're doing, say, sending them to a landing page with an inquiry form, how many conversions we got, what the average cost per conversion was, and much more from this interface. So we've found Instagram to be quite successful so far. We've tested, we're running, well, I would say we're beyond testing at this point. We're probably running Instagram ads with between 5 and 10 different clients, and we're getting decent to good results with all of them. So I don't think we've had any where we haven't seen at least pretty good results. And again, I think that has a lot to do with the targeting. If you're reaching such a precise audience as you can with Facebook, you're really getting your message in front of the right people. In fact, we had, I think just in January, we had one client that generated 20 inquiries in January just from Instagram. So it's a viable platform. Its interface is the same as Facebook, which is nice, and I really encourage you to experiment with it, particularly by just adding the Instagram on to maybe an existing Facebook campaign. That's an easy way to start testing it and see if it's going to work for you without really any additional effort on your part. So John, I think I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, and I'm glad that you talked a bit about how Instagram piggybacks on the Facebook platform, because the next update will be quite relevant for those Instagram ads as well. So big change from Facebook. It's in Facebook called detailed targeting, also known as flex targeting in many circles. So if you're looking around online and you see some articles about this change, many people will call it flex targeting, but we'll take a look at kind of what that looks like in the Facebook system as well. So without much warning, which is typical for Facebook, the targeting options back in December changed quite suddenly. In fact, I received a somewhat panicked call from a team member who said that she was completely unable to set up the targets that we were using for a campaign we were about to launch, because everything had changed in the system, and she wasn't able to use what we had already determined. Of course, they were in the very middle of making this update, and everything kind of calmed down a couple hours later, as is usual for Facebook when they make these sudden changes. But it really, as usual, a surprise, but no surprise. So Facebook has generally been a pioneer in improving targeting capabilities and incorporating third-party data. So John was talking about the many levels at which you can reach people on the Facebook network. And really there's so much information to use there. And yet there were still some limitations that were kind of frustrating in terms of how you could break down your audiences. But that's really not the case anymore, and we're very excited. So here's what this looks like in the platform. You can narrow your audience in lots of ways now. So one option here, or sort of our basic option, and this is what we've always had access to, is that you can include people who match at least one of the following. That's something that we've always had access to in the system. But now the addition allows us to include another box that says and must also match at least one of the following. So we're narrowing the audience by adding additional requirements that each audience member must meet before being included. And last but not least, we're able to exclude people who match at least one of the following as well. Now, while you can only include the exclude option once, which makes sense, you can narrow further using that option at the very bottom. There's a link that allows you to open yet another and must also match box, and you can do that ad infinitum. It's as far as we can tell, functionally, there's not a limit to that. I'm sure there is at some point a limit, but for our purposes, it's been quite flexible, which is why people are calling it flexible targeting. So let's talk about some instances in which you might use this kind of granularity of targeting. Number one, let's say you have a somewhat small budget, but you have several different audiences that are relevant for a particular program. using this tool, you can now combine several of those small audiences together into one ad set. Allows for easier management. You can create bigger audiences out of tiny ones. We'll kind of look at the details of that in just a moment, but that's one use case for this. Another is that you can require prospects to meet multiple criteria before seeing your ad. Before, we were limited to a list of options. So if you wanted somebody to have an interest in project management, that's great, fine, but you couldn't require that they also have another interest in addition to project management. And number 3, you can also exclude subsets of your audience. So it's quite easy to do that now. There were some exclusion options before, but we have a lot more capability with that now. So first use case, combining several audiences into one. Let's say you have a program that requires a bachelor's degree. So you want people to have a bachelor's degree, so you're going to set that up as one of your requirements in your targeting. You also know that the people who are good audience members for this program have a particular income level or net worth. Maybe it's a higher dollar program. They're making at least $200,000 a year in order to really be able to afford it. Well, now, in addition to those 2 requirements, you can also add multiple other requirements. And all of those people would be placed into this 3rd circle in the Venn diagram. So you can require, maybe you have a list of matching interests, so maybe project management, multiple different interest areas. You can also include job titles in here, or you can add a particular undergrad major. So you're already requiring that they have a bachelor's degree, but maybe you want to have a list of people who have one of a particular major as their undergrad major. And what happens is anybody who matches any one of the things you're listing in each of these areas will be included in this circle, so that then you're reaching that middle area where all 3 circles overlap. There's a few benefits to this. So this allows you to, 1, create a larger audience, where you're minimizing ad fatigue. So if you only have a small group of people, maybe you only had 2,000 possible reach in a particular ad set, by lumping in people with particular interests and people with particular job titles and people with particular undergrad majors, you're creating a larger audience, which allows your ads to roll through that audience in a more spread out period of time. So the ad fatigue is not nearly as bad. It allows you to better manage small budgets. So the ad set is the level at which you set your budget, but it's also the level at which you set your targeting. So if you had to create 6 different ad sets, that's a lot of budget to maintain, considering we have a minimum budget of $5 a day. So you can see how that would add up very quickly. By being able to combine some of these audiences into one, you now can manage your budget in a way that's more reasonable. There's a drawback, though. You unfortunately can't tease out the different targeting parameters in your reporting. So you won't know whether the people who were targeted in this particular ad set using job titles or the people who were targeted using particular matching interests are performing best. That's the one drawback. You lose a little bit of reporting capability, but it's worth it if you have a limited budget, or you're ending up with these tiny audiences that really need to be a bit larger to make an impact. Your second use case is narrowing audiences. So here, I mentioned this before, maybe you have a particular program where you want people to have 2 interests. You want to require that they have an interest in project management and an interest in programming. Those are interest areas. You can do the same thing with behaviors. So let's say you want to reach people who are likely to contribute to charitable organizations and who are more likely to buy online education. Those are some behavior examples that you can use as targeting. You can require that both of those requirements be met before somebody is included in your audience. So this really allows you to get down to a niche audience. Our third use case is for excluding audiences. So maybe you want to make sure that your master's degree targeting is reaching the right audience, but you're not excluding relevant audience members. So, or perhaps for degree completion, this is something we run into often, for degree completion, where we want to make sure that we are reaching people who have maybe only some college, or they have maybe an associate's, or maybe they've even just completed high school and they're starting on their educational journey. In the past, we've used the target of requiring that people have indicated some college or an associate's degree. Well, maybe people haven't indicated that on their profile. Maybe instead what we'd like to use is what we have here in this third circle, an exclusion target of a bachelor's degree or higher. So if somebody has indicated that they have their bachelor's or a master's degree or a PhD, then they won't be included in this audience. And what that does is it opens up the audience a little bit to people who maybe just didn't want to indicate that they have their associates, or didn't want to indicate that they have some college but they haven't finished, and really gets us out and in the news feed of all of the people who might possibly be a relevant audience member. So using the exclusion targeting allows you to sometimes get more audience members and not over-target down in a way that makes you lose some of the impressions that would be valuable. So that's, I don't know that quite, it doesn't, it's hard to make talking about the Facebook detailed targeting as exciting as it should be. It's a huge change, and I really encourage you to take a look and see what you can do, keeping in mind situations in which you need to better manage your budget, situations in which you really need to narrow your audience down further to reach the proper audience. Those are really great moments and opportunities to delve into this new level of targeting that Facebook has afforded us with, and take a look, try out some things. That leads us to our last update, which was a bit of a shock recently, Google search update. So you can say goodbye to right side ads. There are no longer right side ads appearing on Google search. Now you may have just happened to notice this in the last week since it was released. As you do a Google search, suddenly the page is a bit more empty. So here let's look quickly at what this looked like. So before, if you did a search on project management certificate, and if you were like me this day, had some trouble with spelling, you would end up with what you see here on the left. You've got an indicator of my bad spelling by Google reminding me that the certificate has a C there in it. But then you would also see a list of ads below that, 3 ads you can see here, and then some organic results below that. And then on the right, we see a list of ads that are indicated as such by that ads yellow block at the top. Now what you see is 3 to 4 ads at the top of the results page and organic results below. Nothing to the right. So it's cleaning up the page quite a bit, but this is going to have quite an impact. If you didn't have my showing results for listing over here, you can see how this would actually pull everything up just a bit so that we have more organic results showing down here. And so things look a little bit different with this bit of text up here at the top. But this is a pretty significant change, and I want to talk about a couple reasons why. And I think John might join me for this just to kind of fill in. He's done quite a bit of research on what the impact might be of this change and kind of what people are talking about out there in the industry. Here's a couple ramifications that we've discussed. One is that we imagine that there's going to be an increase in price for some of those top positions on the page. So what this means, and I didn't mention, but there are ads at the very bottom of the organic results as well. So I think, John, we have three to four ads down there at the bottom as well.
Yes.
Okay, so what that means is we're decreasing from approximately 11 ads total on one search results page to 7 total. So that really, as you might imagine, is going to increase competition, and that leaves us with higher prices for those top spots on the page. We also might have higher click-through rates for those top positions because there's less competition. There are fewer things up there distracting people from those top positions. That's really it at the top of the page. Unfortunately, we then will probably have lower click-through rates for those positions starting around 5, which are appearing now at the very bottom of the page instead of over to the right. And John, I'd like you to maybe talk a little bit more about the organic results, the impact of those, and kind of how we imagine that might change.
Sure. Well, if you step back to the previous slide, because I think it can't be overemphasized the the significance of getting rid of. If you count the number of ads that are showing on the left before and compare that to the number of ads that are showing on the right, you're talking about the difference between 11 ads that I can see versus only 4 ads. And with the organic results, of course, if you look on the left, there's lots more competing for your attention because you've got 11 different ads, and many of them fairly repetitive because they're all saying project management program, PMP certificate. But there are 11 things that are ads competing with your attention for those 3 organic results that are visible above the fold, whereas on the right side, there's only 4 ads competing now with the 3 organic results that may be showing above the fold. And these are all just approximations, but we imagine that this is going to, in addition to some of the changes to Google paid search that Jonna mentioned, this is going to push even more emphasis back toward those organic results. So being in one of the top 2 or 3 spots for organic results carries more weight because there are fewer ads competing for those searchers' attention now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, absolutely. And inversely, this change is going to increase the impact of the ad extensions that we have. So I know that was something that we had chatted about the other day, that now, because there's so much competition for these top spots, you really want to make sure that you're taking up as much space here and presenting people with as much relevant content as possible with these ad extensions. So you can see the eye really jumps to these larger ads. So here we've got a capella.edu ad, which has site link extensions and call out extensions, lots of stuff drawing the attention to those ads, which is now more important than ever. It's also more likely now that there are 4 spots at the top of the page where those call outs and site links can show up. It's more likely that your ad might need those and might have the opportunity to actually include those now. So now it's the top 4 spots versus before it was the top 3 at the most that would actually include those extensions.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read a little bit about Google's reasoning behind this change, but I think it must just primarily have to do with the diminishing click-through rates that they see or that they saw from those lower ads on the right-hand side. In other words, I imagine, and we see this with ours, once you get below about 4th or 5th position in the old format, your click-through rates would typically be very low, below 1%. So Google probably looked at that and said, hey, if we clean this page up a bit and just get rid of those, what are we losing? Maybe 2 or 3% of the clicks from those ads, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But in return, I think we can draw more attention to these ads and make more money thus by displaying the other ads more prominently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, with that, unless you had anything else to add, Jonna, I think I'll jump into our and more.
No, I think I'm ready to see what we've got in the and more list.
Good. Well, what I'm going to do now, everyone, is I'm going to take you through a series of other developments that we've seen in online marketing, because there certainly has been much more change than just the 4 that we've highlighted here. But I'm going to do this rather quickly. As we mentioned, we're going to leave some time at the end for questions, and I've seen that we've already had a few questions come in. So if you've thought of something in the interim, please go ahead and add that into the questions box. But in the meantime, I'm going to step you through pretty quickly some of these other developments. All of them have lots of literature online that you can explore and read about them. For the sake of time, we're just going to touch on these pretty quickly. So the first thing that I'll mention are carousel ads, so Facebook and Instagram. The idea of these carousel ads is that you can, with one ad space, include multiple images and multiple sort of descriptions associated with those images. An example of a use case for this might be if you want to highlight a number of testimonials. Maybe you've got testimonials from 3 or 4 different students. You could create one image for each of them, kind of one slide for each of them, and people can then scroll through the carousel ads to look at each of those testimonials. You could also use this to tell a story. So you could think of each of the slides as kind of a panel, almost in like a whiteboard sort of storyline, and so you could progressively, explore different features of your program or something like that, or show maybe someone's progress as they advance through a degree program or a certificate program that you might offer. Probably many other uses of these carousel ads. We're just beginning to explore them, but it's quite a neat idea that Facebook and Instagram are offering. LinkedIn. We wanted to include something about LinkedIn here because, frankly, LinkedIn has not been innovating like many of the other platforms. They did redesign their interface about 8 or 10 months ago, but really haven't done anything since then. But the one thing that is new from LinkedIn is this little checkbox that says beta that will show up at the bottom of your audience targeting screen in the LinkedIn Ads Manager, which allows you to say, I want to deliver this campaign to an audience outside of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, much like Google with their display network, and Facebook has this option as well, LinkedIn has partnered with some third-party websites and organizations to be able to show your ad in places outside of LinkedIn. That's now an option that's in beta, although it's available, my understanding is it's available for all accounts. Twitter conversational ads. So this is quite new. This is, I think, rolled out maybe just 2 or 3 weeks ago from Twitter. The idea behind this is you can now create an ad that sort of preemptively suggests a tweet that someone might tweet out. Almost you're putting words in their mouth, so they can then click click a button on your ad and it will pre-populate a tweet with whatever hashtag and content that you want them to tweet out. So you're basically making it very easy for the people to whom you're showing your ad to help retweet that ad and get you lots of good social exposure. What's more, if they do take advantage of this and tweet out the sort of pre-written tweet, or even adjust it and tweet out the tweet that you're promoting to them, they can then respond to you from. So you can see the last slide where someone can then click through to your website and such. So interesting idea that Twitter is testing. Facebook has rolled this out. This was more maybe 6 months ago or so. What this new feature in Facebook allows you to do is, and it's called lead ads, it allows you to essentially embed an inquiry form natively into the Facebook app on mobile devices. So I don't believe that Facebook has yet rolled this out to desktop usage. It was originally released only for mobile devices, and to my knowledge that has changed. But the brilliance of this is that someone sees your ad and they say, yeah, I'm interested in that, and they click a button. Well, guess what? Facebook knows their name, their email address, possibly their phone number. It knows a lot of information about them because they have an account there on Facebook. So what Facebook then does is it pre-populates whatever fields you're inquiring about, in this case name and email, with the information that Facebook knows about that person. Now, they can change that information if they want to, but if you think about interacting on a mobile device, the less that you make people type, the more likely they are to, to inquire, to submit their information. And so this basically takes all of the data entry out of the process of them raising their hand and saying, yeah, I'd like to talk to someone, or I'd like more information about what you're offering. So they click the ad, they check their information, they can submit it, and that lead then is captured by Facebook. Now, one of the downsides of this, at least so far, and I think Facebook is working on adjusting this, is to get those leads. You can't have those leads flow into most CRM systems. I think they have a couple of partnerships, maybe just one, but in most cases you're going to have to log in to your Facebook page to be able to access the leads that are generated through this. So unless you're getting a substantial number of them through this approach, it's a bit of a burden to have to send your advisors or admissions people over to collect those ads from Facebook and perhaps re-enter them into your system. Facebook location targeting. So much like their flex targeting, the location targeting was an improvement that Facebook made that allows us to better hone in on whether we're targeting people who happen to be in a particular location, or who actually live in a particular location, or just anyone that's there. So in this case, you can see that the four options that we've got. Do you want to target everyone in, say, the United States? Or what if someone is just traveling and they live abroad, maybe in Europe or Asia, but they happen to be in the United States? You may not want to show them the ad, because if they're not going to be here long term, especially if you have a classroom-based program, there's not a lot of chance that they're going to be able to enroll in a certificate or degree program once they travel back to where their home is at. So we think we turn this on quite a bit, particularly in areas that receive a lot of tourism. So if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, or Orlando, or many big cities where lots of people travel there for business or for pleasure, you probably want to restrict to only people who live in your location for your academic programs, particularly if they're classroom-based. Online, you may be a little flexible, but classroom-based programs, you really need people living there to be able to participate in those. Video ads have been out for a while. Facebook and Twitter both offer these, as does Instagram through their Facebook Ads Manager. Here's some examples of video ads that we're running for VCU, for a paralegal certificate they have there. These are great. We've actually found really good engagement from the video ads, and in fact we've actually gotten far more conversions, in other words, inquiries, than I thought we would. My concern was you're kind of giving away the farm by giving them, in this case, we uploaded like a 5 to 7 minute informational video that had been produced about the program. And I thought, well, after somebody watches this video, maybe they're not going to go to our landing page, because if you click the Learn More, it takes you to a landing page with an inquiry form. And I thought maybe they're not going to do that because they've kind of already gotten a lot of the information that they might need. But in fact, we've seen a lot of people who will watch parts of the video. Maybe they only watch the first 30 seconds or a minute of it, and they go, wow, this is really interesting. I want to learn more. And then they inquire. So we found this not only great for just engagement and awareness building purposes, but actually for inquiry generation. It's worked better than I had expected. If you were on Facebook at all, you're probably familiar with their, as far as I know, their newest rollout, which are Facebook reactions. So now not only can you like something, but you could love something, or you could be angry at something. And so, my first question, being a marketer, when I saw these was, how in the world do these affect our marketing algorithms for how often my ads are going to display? And the answer, according to Facebook, of these is whether someone likes your ad, is wowed by your ad, is saddened by your ad. All of those right now count the same as likes would have before. So these are all positive social engagements. I guess they figure if someone is sad and maybe you were trying to make them sad, and so your ad has been effective. But all of these are kind of, if somebody chooses any one of these reactions, that's considered a positive interaction with your ad. And beyond that, it's too early, I think, to really know what kind of an impact these might have in terms of other people's reactions to your ad if they see a lot of different reactions showing on there. So this literally, I think, rolled out within the last week, so it's brand new for all of us. And then let's see. Pinterest. So Pinterest is technically still in a beta. You have to request access to their advertising platform to be able to take advantage of this. But we thought Pinterest is an interesting platform, kind of like Instagram. I kind of put it in the same category, but you can run ads on Pinterest. Here's an example of one we're running for this Master's in Education program, and you can see it's surrounded by all of these other pins related to STEM, which is just a perfect, a perfect venue for this ad. And then lastly, Google Customer Match. So Facebook and Twitter have had this for a while, but last fall Google rolled out a feature that will enable you to take your list, let's say an email marketing list, and you can actually upload it into Google AdWords, and Google will try to match those emails up with accounts that it has. And then since people stay logged into Google for much of the time, Google then say, well, you upload this list of, let's say, 5,000 people who were on your email marketing list. We were able to match half of them with Google users. So now you can show ads to those 2,500 people out of your 5,000 person list through the Google Display Network. So it's another form of remarketing. And as I mentioned, Facebook has had this for quite a while. Twitter's had this for a while. Google has now added their own version of it. And it's great. It's another way, again, of using your email marketing list that you may have built and collected over a very long period of time. So, Jonna, I'll toss back to you. I think we've got about 7 minutes left for questions if you want to say anything before we go on to those.
No, I think we've probably given everybody enough today to think about. So here's just a quick summary of what we covered today. There's a lot here, and of course, if you have questions about any of these updates, we are available if you'd like to reach out. and find out more, especially if you're already a client of ours. So I know there are some things we're just starting to test, and others that we've implemented across many accounts. So of course our discovery continues as well. Let's go ahead and start with some questions.
And we've got a few. One of the questions that came up was, if you made an Instagram account before Facebook purchased it, would you be able to link those two profiles? And it doesn't happen. I can jump in and answer this. And Jonna and John, you can add to my comment, but it doesn't happen instantly. To link your Instagram account to a Facebook page, you need to be the administrator of that page. And once your Instagram account is linked to your page, you'll have the option to share Facebook each time. So you have to go through the extra step of linking them, but I don't think that that's difficult. Jonna, do you want to chime in?
Sure. It's not particularly difficult. I will also say this. That was a hard restriction when Facebook rolled out the Instagram marketing. They have since relinquished that restriction. In other words, when you first rolled out for a few weeks, you had to have an Instagram account and had to connect it with your Facebook page in order to advertise. They now allow you to advertise simply through your Facebook account. So even if you don't have an Instagram account or don't want to go through the process of linking the two, and you are linking your Instagram account with your Facebook page, not your Facebook ads account, and that through us for the first time when we were doing it. But you don't have to link the Instagram account at all. You can advertise on Instagram straight through your Facebook account.
Another question that comes our way is, has there been any backlash against Google paid search kind of poking around in your email with privacy? Have you guys heard anything or gotten any concerns from some of our higher education clients?
Johnny, you want to? I can certainly speak to that, but you may be able to as well.
I've had people ask about it, and I think there's always some general backlash against Google in general with regard to privacy concerns, but I haven't seen anything directly, and John, maybe you have.
Not at large. Every time I explain how that works to any of our clients, I always get the same reaction, which is, "Wow, that's kind of creepy." And I think that everyone generally feels that way. From an end user perspective, I don't think that the majority of the population understands how those promoted Gmail posts are being even placed into their inbox. So I don't think there's a larger backlash against it. I think it's not until people really understand how insidious it is and how beautifully insidious from a marketing perspective it is that we're able to target people based on emails they're sending and receiving. And there are certainly some security precautions in place against, you can't find out anyone's individual identity. Everything's very anonymous. So Google's doing it all right, but it does seem a little bit invasive in that you get to show ads based on emails people are sending and receiving.
Great. Well, and it's just about 2 o'clock, so I was going to throw one more out there, but I don't want to take up people's time. So just as a reminder, thank you, John and Jonna. We appreciate your time and great presentation. As a reminder to everyone, we will be sending a recorded copy of this to you via email in the next day or so. And I mentioned this at the beginning, but along with that email will be an offer to complete a free assessment, a campaign review. And we can do this for either a Google AdWords campaign or a Facebook campaign. And the wonderful thing about JMH's reviews is they're very detailed. You will get very specific next steps on how to improve the performance of your campaign and where things might be off. And it's not only a conversation that we have with you, it's a documented report. So you can take that and say, okay, you told me that I'm not doing this right on this campaign. Where else can I implement these changes to improve my campaigns? So there's a lot of lessons learned that can be taken from the one review that we do to other campaigns. But we are limiting that to 5 webinar attendees. So first come, first serve. And we look forward to working with 5 of you in the future. So I think that is all. And again, thank you to everyone for attending. You can reach out to John Horn or John Awiri via these emails, or also visit our website. I think that is all, and have a fantastic rest of the week.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.